We arrive at the halfway point of the Firestone Champ Car Challenger Series season. The end of the first half of the season comes to an end tonight here at Kentucky Speedway. The Bluegrass State hosts the Toyota dealers 200 laps, 300 miles will separate drivers from a chance at another victory. And what a historic opening stanza this season has been. The first 9 races have all had 9 different race winners. Extremely impeccable to have that sort of diversity in the field, especially given what we're seeing across the aisle in the Champ Car World Series as well, where it has been equally as competitive. Obviously, for those that have kind of missed out and haven't been a part or haven't been able to tune into every race so far this season, 9 different winners. Started with Isabel Lantra, the Maltese driver, winning in Adelaide. We quickly picked up the pace with Rika Venäläinen and Rachel Koivuniemen. Both Finnish drivers got on the winner's board early. Then Jake Carter, Yuya Ishii winning Sonoma after Carter won at Auto Club. Katerina Milenkovic winning the Gamebridge 300 at Indianapolis. You've got Aspasia Megalos breaking in the scoreboards for the Greek drivers in New Hampshire. Karina Sakurauchi, the Night City resident, winning on the East Coast, winning at Watkins Glen. And then Karina Mara winning most recently last weekend in Charlotte. The important thing to know about all of that is that all 9 of those drivers had not won a Champ Car race up until that point, and it's been hard for them to try to get up to the front of the field once again to try to become the first repeat winner. And this is a race that could be another sort of toss-up between several drivers. It's been interesting this weekend, both on the Champ Car World Series and the Champ Car Challenger Series sides of the garage. It's Rex Riley on pole position ahead of Katerina Milenkovic. Not Katerina Milenkovic is further down the order. Katrina Ochoa, the 27, is alongside on the front row. Those two really close in qualifying. Natalia Kurachenko needs a good run, had a good qualifying run, starts third alongside Keisha Fox, Arashi Seto, Isabel Lantra, Isabel Espinoza, and Nara Takarasi make up your top 8 in this field. Pretty diverse group there in that top 8. Maria Damata and Felicia Zappa make up your top 10. They sit in row 5. Rika Venäläinen and Yuya Ishii. They sit in row 6 ahead of Seth Smith Jr. and Katerina Milenkovic. Yumina Mizuno and Amity Polsatrick sit in row number 8. If I'm following that. Oh, because I skipped Seth Smith Jr. and Katerina Milenkovic. This is going to be scrolling at the bottom of your screen anyway, but Seth Smith Jr. and Katerina Milenkovic in row 7. Mizuno and Polsatrick row 8. Jace Clark and Karina Amara in row 9. Valerie Fang, Karina Sakurauchi round out your top 20. Again, 32 cars in this field. Going to be a fun one to watch as everyone comes to terms here compared to 26 cars that we'll see tomorrow for the Quaker State 300 for the Champ Car World Series. Dale Blanco, Luisa Flores sit in row 11. Jake Carter, Roberto Crown Jr. in row number 12. Row 13 is Kira Moore and Aspasia Megalos. Rachel Koivuniemen, the points leader going into tonight, starts from the bottom, near the bottom of the field, 27th alongside Maria Chavez. That's row 14, where you'll see the points leader start this race. Just behind Chavez is Asada Quito and Sonia Walker. They're row 15. The last row of this 32-car field is row 16, Mia Vitsut and Sora Hoshino. So, big chance for drivers to gain some points on the points leader, Rachel Koivuniemen, who has only had a couple of podium results. Obviously, a race win and a second podium outside of that. But sort of like what we're seeing with the Champ Car World Series, where it's been consistency that's been key, they're going to need to see that again tonight. And Koivuniemen has a lot of work to do. Remember, Thomas Rogers from 28th on the grid back in 2016 went on to win the race in the Champ Car World Series. Koivuniemen in that same row will try to do the exact same thing tonight, and there's plenty of laps to do it. Pit window looking to be about 70 laps. So there's going to be plenty of pit stops to adjust those cars as well, and they'll need it. But it's time to send it trackside for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
It will soon be showtime here for the Toyota Dealers 300, race 10 of 20 in the Firestone Champ Car Challenger Series season. We will end the first half of the season with a bang. Rex Riley, first career pole position in Champ Car competition, alongside the Scuderia Ghia car of Katrina Ochoa. A sophomore versus a veteran. As we roll into Kentucky. The lights are on. The stage is set. It's been a couple of years, but we're back in the Bluegrass State, and it's a doubleheader. Challenger Series tonight, Champ Car World Series tomorrow. Pace car rolls down. And the green flag flies. The Toyota Dealers 300 is underway. We're racing in Kentucky. Remember part of the rolling. Earlier restart zone than what we saw earlier this season. They liked what they saw at Watkins Glen, decided to implement that across the board. Early jump start there by Riley and by Kurachenko as Ochoa struggles to get started early. Car coming down in trouble. Who is that is in trouble? That is one of the Crystal Cove racing cars. They got really tight and checked up a decent chunk of the field. And I believe that is actually Yumina Mizuno, the 23. That is not one of the Crystal Cove racing cars. One of the Crystal Cove cars actually a little bit further behind. I believe both of them are. That's both Carter and Blanco further behind in this group. Sprinting ahead. This is Karina Amara, center of your screen, trying to keep up and catch up to Felicia Zappa and Nara Takarasi. Not symmetrical, this racetrack in Sparta, Kentucky, just an hour and a half away from Louisville. And equally about an hour from Cincinnati. Rex Riley leads early on. The asymmetrical shape of this racetrack is not in how it's shaped. It looks symmetrical if you just look at it from a helicopter. It's in the banking, in the layout. Whoa, trouble for, that is Arashi Seto, who checked up a lot of the field there. And you're seeing that this track is flatter than other mile-and-a-half racetracks. It's flatter than like the likes of Texas or Las Vegas or Chicagoland. And it's not consistent. And you're seeing because of how much flatter this racetrack is, drivers are more willing to go below the yellow line, and that's trouble for one of the Verizon Team Impulse cars. That is Sakurauchi in trouble early. That is, there's Floros ahead, the 75. As we have an issue with our ticker here. See as they all fly by. Bear with us for a second here. Should have everything back up and in motion here as we stay in static cam for a second just to get everything reprogrammed. See the field as it blazes on by. You see the capacity crowd here at Kentucky Speedway and in full song here tonight. I believe we are good to go now. There we go. Perfect. There's Ochoa, who's dropped a little bit further back in the running order. Ochoa now sitting in the 9th position. Here's Yui Ishii, charging forward, trying to do well. And caution's out, and there's a big crash, huge crash. Several cars involved, everyone trying to avoid. Car upside down, I believe is Amara. It is Amara. That is Polstrix involved. That's Sakurauchi, that's Chase Clark all involved. Camaro spinning like a top. Arashi Seto, Roberto Crown Jr. also involved. Several cars collected in this. in trouble early. And several drivers just got themselves a penalty trying to come down pit lane as early as possible. That's not going to do well for their race. See if we can go back and see what happened here. This is with Arashi Seto. This is just behind Karina Amara. Seto struggled on the inside lane, almost spun out a couple laps ago. So is this where it starts again, or does it start further behind? Oh, Amara just come down in front of Pulsatrix and Seto. Nowhere for Sakurachi to go, nowhere for Crown to go. Everyone else lucky to avoid that as it is, including Fang. There's Megalos coming up on the scene later. And Jace Clark is kind of piling in there. This car is moving at pretty good speeds, 215 miles an hour into turn 3. Again, we'll slow it down here and go little by little. And you can just see Amari just pinches down, not realizing that she's 3 wide with Seto and Pulsatrix, and you're going to see a huge impact for all 3 of them. And all 3 of them take a tumble bouncing off of that safer barrier. That's where Jace Clark gets involved. That's where Sakurachi gets involved, as well as Roberto Crown Jr. Almost trouble for Sora Hoshino there. The first one to blaze by on the outside. Mizuno gets through on the inside lane. So does Valerie Fang. Karina Mara, thankfully that car comes to a stop of its pirouettes. Right side up. But unfortunately that is the first caution of the race. 3 wide into turn 3. Turns into a 6-car accident. And a lot of black flags for unsafe pit entries. Looking right at one of them, Rex Riley, the pole sitter, did not have a great pit entry. Well into the grass, completely missed the pit box there. You had a commitment cone that you could see there. That a lot of cars missed. There's going to be a lot of penalties that come out of this that they will have to serve under green. Lights out on the pace car. And I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count 10 black flags. Rex Riley, Keisha Fox, Isabella Espinosa, Katrina Ochoa, and Isabel Lantra. Further down the order, Seth Smith Jr., Maria Damata, Rika Venalainen, Natalia Kurachenko, and Yuya Ishii, all black flagged from this event. So that is not a disqualification. I should kind of point out that is a come in and survey stop and go under green, which they have to do at the end of this first lap. That is all the top 5 that have to come down pit lane, which will hand the lead over to either Felicia Zappa or Katerina Malinkovic. We'll see who ends up pouncing and taking advantage of the chaos that's about to ensue here, as those 10 cars have to come down and serve their drive-through penalty. Pace car rolls off pit lane and the green flag flies, and Yuya Ishii does the smartest thing you can do, and that is serve it immediately, and that's exactly what Ishii did. Fantastic stuff by Yuya Ishii. Wide shots here as they come out of turn number 2. Remember, 9 more cars have to serve a penalty here, and there are 5 of them at the front of the field. And they all come down pit lane. It is a cluster, and they're all in together. So it does hand the lead over, at least for a lap, to Felicia Zappa, the Italian, the younger sister of Kaylee Zappa, who's on the pit box tonight. Felicia Zappa leads over Katerina Malinkovic. There is the 61, Rachel Cuevanemi from 27th all the way up to 3rd already in the first 15 laps of this race, trying to hold off Luisa Floros. That's 3 wide behind. That is Chavez, that is Fang, and that is Mizuno. Takarasi sits in the 5th spot, just ahead of them. Then you have Aspasia Megalos in 9th, Del Blanco up into the 10th spot. Then you have Mia Vitsu. As you see some of the cars coming out of pit lane now after serving that penalty, in need of a prayer. There is Kurachenko as well. But more of these cars coming out of pit lane together. And Flores tries to make it 3 wide on both the 61 of Cuevanemi and the 30 of Malinkovic. It does not pay out at all, but Cuevanemi makes out like a bandit, gets 2 spots in one go. Cuevanemi now up to the 2nd spot, trying to chase down the race leader Felicia Zappa. Zappa, who was denied at Phoenix in favor of the Finnish driver Riikka Venäläinen. Trying to make some headway here at Kentucky. The field has been pretty thoroughly flipped there. There's Riikka Venäläinen. Venäläinen a lap down, trying to stay a lap down, avoid going 2 down at this point. Here comes Cuevanemi. Cuevanemi gonna draft around Venäläinen here and get right to the lead of the race. And it's gonna hold up Felicia Zappa. These two that battled at Phoenix so long, costing each other right now. Felicia Zappa drops down to 4th, out of the podium places. Into the podium places goes Luisa Floros, the Faceporia team who has had a lot of success in the last month. Amara and Megalos have already won a race. Floros wants to do the same. Zappa back up to 3rd, ahead of the 57 of Takarasi and the 30 of Malinkovic. So everyone's dispatched Venäläinen pretty quickly. There's Valerie Fang in the mix as well. Aspasia Megalos in the mix. And the 23 of Mizuno. But now everyone once again chasing down the 61. Zappa up to 3rd once again. Single file there. You see some cars all spread out here. That is Riley. There's Lantra and Espinoza in this mix. There's Keisha Fox. That is the 8 of Maria D'Amata. And the 27 of Katrina Ochoa. All of them had to serve a penalty. Ochoa, the first car, a lap down. Hoshino, the last car on the lead lap. Just like that, we're down to 16 on the lead lap as well. Several cars out. Yui Ishii out with a suspension failure, not related to the caution that we had on lap 11. Roberta Crown Jr., Karina Amara, Arashi Seto, Karina Sakurauchi, Amity Polstrix, and Jace Clark are out because of that caution. And several cars already out of the contention for this race win as things sit right now. Sort of browsing and perusing here, back up to the front of the field because here comes Nero Takarasi, the 2012 Indy 500 champion, has moved up to 2nd place. Aspasia Megalos in 3rd. 4th place belongs to Luisa Floros. Mizuno up to 5th. Felicia Zappa down to 6th once again. Then you have Valerie Fang ahead of Malinkovic. That is Carter now in the top 10 and 9th. Maria Chavez in the top 10, barely. Here comes Megalos, a race winner already this season, winning at New Hampshire, proving herself to be a bit of an oval maestro. Cuevanemi and Megalos, 1st and 2nd, as the laps tick away. Coming to complete lap 26 of 200 here. Koivu leading early, has led 9 laps in this race. Felicia Zappa led 7. Takarasi led 1. First 9 laps led mostly by Rex Riley. And turn 4, these laps tick by quickly. 26 seconds thereabouts at your slowest pace is the time it takes to run a lap here at Kentucky Speedway in these cars. Average race lap speed sitting right now 214 miles an hour average lap speed. These cars are quick. 209, 208, 207 miles an hour on the exit of turn 4, so they don't shave a lot of speed off at all. Across the start finish line at 212, entering at 216. And back up we go. Takarasi battling with Floros for 4th. Mizuno's up to 3rd. Megalos trying to find a way around the 61 of Koivu, who has now found once again a very fortunate spot given where she was at the start of this race and given what could have happened. And Koivu not been able to make any significant moves forward. Here comes Megalos to the inside that works so well in 3 and 4. Mizuno going to try to go and take 2nd place away as well, and does clear into turn 1. Turn 1 seems to be where the middle lanes preferred here, and you see they're not really getting below that patch, that patched seam in 1 and 2. This track is not extremely old. The surface was redone. The track was reconfigured in 2018. The issue with the racetrack for Kentucky is that it's in the Midwest. Midwestern winters age the track a little bit worse than what you would see at like a place like Las Vegas or at Texas Motor Speedway or Atlanta. The summers are hot in all of those locations, but the winter, the ice, and the snow, that cold air, especially with the ice trickling in and creating rifts in the racetrack, which you see the rubber seams have really had to cover in throughout the years, ages this racetrack pretty significantly. Megalos now leading the way here. Koivu led 12 laps uncontested. Now it's Megalos in charge. Ahead of Koivu, ahead of the 57 of Takarasi. There is Felicia Zappa once again up in the top 5, sitting in the 4th spot, ahead of Yumina Mizuno, Team Sakura's lead driver at this point. Only 2 Team Sakura cars left. The Onana Hoshino now to 13th place, so slowly crawling in is Sora Hoshino, trying to get into the top 10. Top 2 have begun to separate themselves a little bit as everyone battles right now for 3rd. Koivu not flustered at all right now, trying to make some inroads on this to get back to the race lead. Points very much a factor even at the halfway point of the season. Center of your screen right now, that Crystal Cove Racing Nationwide machine, that's Jake Carter. Carter did not have himself a phenomenal qualifying effort in this race. Carter started 23rd. This kind of shows how lopsided this qualifying has turned and how quickly it turned. Here comes Venäläinen once again under threat. One of the cars wounded. Not so much by the accident in lap 11, but the pit entry that came from it. Cars coming across the grass or hitting the commitment cone, or hitting each other trying to check up after making an illegal pit entry. It affected Venäläinen pretty negatively. And now you're seeing the field trying to get around Venäläinen. Once again, Felicia Zappa being worse for wear because of it. Here comes Mizuno to the inside of Koivu. There goes Takarasi. There goes Carter. and they all break through. There is Maria Chavez as well, who has had a couple rough races in a row, trying to find a little bit of that groove back. That is Maria D'Amata, merging back onto the racetrack on the inside lane. Several cars suffering quickly. D'Amata now, I believe, 4 laps down, with significant ailments to that 8 car. See if D'Amata can possibly hang in now that they've had that car come in for extra service. We'll see. So Blanco has lost the draft, but he's the only one that is significantly alone right now in this contest. 40 laps in out of 200 here in Kentucky Speedway, Sparta, Kentucky. Small little village, an hour from Louisville, an hour from Cincinnati. Perfect place to be for Champ Car racing this weekend. We have more of it tomorrow for the Champ Car World Series and their 26 World Championship juggernauts. Rolling right now is the 55, Jake Carter, from 23rd to 3rd. He's gotten ahead of Takarasi here. He's kind of browsing through the field. There's where Rex Riley is, kind of on an island. There is Lantra and Espinoza. There's Ochoa and Keisha Fox. These are the last cars that are on the 1 lap down train. So before too long, Rex Riley will go a 2nd lap down to the lead pack. That is Seth Smith Jr., who is 2 laps down, as is Natalia Kurachenko, who's a little bit further up the road here, I do believe. There's Finilainen, or not Finilainen, that's Kurachenko just up the road there. Carter gets around Mizuno up to 2nd. Close contest here. Carter wants to lead a lap. He's not led one. Megalos now the driver with the most laps led, 14 of the first 45. Out of turn 4, once again, Megalos leads, made that 15 of the first 45. Sorry, 16 of the first 45, excuse me. Now on 46. You see the cars coming up soon here. The leaders will have to deal with at some point. Nicholas leads the way. Both of these drivers trying to become the first 2-time winners in the Challenger Series. Mizuno trying to become a first-time winner. A little bit of special history for Takarasi, sitting in 4th, trying to become the first driver to win in both the World Championship and the National Championship. There's a decent amount of drivers that have won in both the World and National Championships, but not while both were active. Rita Lecti, Miguel Espinoza, David Germain, all of them were champions across both the National and World Championships. But the National Championship was retired in 1999. We stopped racing for it in favor of the World Championship that began in 2000. So now both are active again. Takarasi trying to be the first to win in both the World Championship and the National Championship, while both are active. Right now she's sitting in 4th, doing a good job of that, but Takarasi's been on a podium before. Was on podium earlier this season. So she knows what it's like to be at the dance. Car selling in just a little bit here as tires begin to wear. This is the run we did not get to see in the first 11 laps for obvious reasons. We are definitely getting there now, and it seems like Megalos, with that clean real estate, has has had the advantage of that clean air and that track position. 50 laps in the books. We are a quarter of the way through this race already. It is flying by. And as things stand, it'll continue to. Good palate cleanse from the School of Hard Knocks race that was Charlotte and the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval last weekend, which saw Megalos's teammate Amara come out with the race win. He's now closing in on Carter a little bit there for second place. Trying to time the momentum here. Figure out which side of the racetrack you want to pass on. Do you want to pass going into turn 1 or into turn 3? Both have been successful throughout this race. But we're on older tires now. These tires definitely past their prime. And you're going to need a little bit different of a request from your tools. Here goes Mizuno. She left at turn 3. Mizuno goes up to second place. And here comes Takarasi inside of Jake Carter. Side by side. This is where the outside kind of prevails a little bit. Seems like Takarasi able to hold in just a little bit. Try to avoid the 55 getting clear. Carter still using the momentum on that outside lane to get clear though. And then meanwhile, inside lane, Chavez getting what she wanted out of that deal. And that's a pass around Rachel Koivanami. And so will Felicia Zappa. They all got around Koivanami there in pretty good spirit. So Zappa got around Koivanami. Floro still sitting top 10 right now in that 8th spot. Fang in 9th, Sonia Walker up to 10th. Meanwhile, Rika Venalainen once again wounded, but in a decent spot to just keep scoring points. Hope more bad things happen to other people like Maria D'Amata. And maybe you'll have a chance here. Megalos not wasting any time, gets right to the inside of the racetrack there. The lane that prevails the best in 3 and 4. Most of the field makes it by pretty easily. So will Maria Chavez on the inside lane. Venalainen largely not hindering anyone at this time. Here comes Zappa and Koivanami. Zappa not being really negatively affected at this point. Zappa kind of just affected by circumstance the last couple times that they've encountered the 87. And Zappa's going to hold on to the 6th spot ahead of Koivanami, who put a lot of pressure on in turn 1 and 2. Carter back around Mizuno. Remember, most of the field pit on lap 11, so it kicked the pit window for this first set of green flag pit stops down by about 11 to 13 laps. What we were expecting it to be about lap 70 could actually be closer to lap 85, lap 90 for those first round of pit stops. These 18.5 gallon fuel tanks were filled to the brim with our completely renewable fuel, the 85% ethanol, 15% biobutanol. Getting all these cars around the racetrack at breakneck pace. The lap speed has dropped down to about 212 miles an hour. The average lap speed, 25.4 though. Still the average lap time by seconds. And we're seeing that right now. This is Carter back out in front. Takarasi up to 2nd, Mizuno 3rd. They all got around Megalos there, who has now led 30 laps in this race. Drivers at a yet to lead a lap, Mizuno and Chavez of those in the top 5. Speaking of which, here comes Megalos back out and in full force, charging forward. So is Chavez. Chavez up to 4th. It is the 66 of Megalos now in 3rd. Mizuno defending well in turns 1 and 2. And you can kind of see, just kind of looking at the racetrack, how asymmetrical this track really is. You see the seams really kind of counting the divide there. That is Rachel Koivu that struggle, got pinched down below the yellow line, had to back out of it, and will lose a couple spots. That's Damata, who had to come in for extra service. That is Valerie Fain that got through as well. But you see turns 3 and 4 over here. This has 5 distinct lanes, 5 distinct grooves around the racetrack, and it comes to an end here. It narrows down to about 4 grooves. And that means a lot, because especially when these tracks also are not as evenly banked. Kentucky a lot flatter. Turns 1 and 2, 14 degrees of banking. Turns 3 and 4, 11 degrees of banking. But turn 3 and 4 also a lot wider. So you have those extra lanes here at Kentucky Speedway that you can use. I am surprised the inside lane is as effective as it has been for these cars, but we were expecting, really it was for the strategy to be kind of flip-flopped. We were expecting turns 3 and 4 to have that heavy preference on the outer lane, because that's where you can maintain more of your speed around the corner. We were expecting the yellow line to be so critically important here in 1 and 2, where they're going through right now. With how bumpy turns 1 and 2 are right now, on especially the bottom lane, however, that has shifted a little bit. Everyone's added a little bit more downforce, and that in turn makes the inside in 3 and 4 more viable. So interesting compromises in what the teams learned from practice yesterday. Both the World Series and the Challenger Series had practice yesterday, qualifying today. Challenger Series race obviously tonight here, going on right now, and the Champ Car World Series race at 1 p.m. tomorrow. As we watch Koivu shadowing the 54 of Valerie Fain. That is the 50 of Felicia Zappa getting around Aspasia Megalos, with the 29 of Maria Chavez sitting in the 4th spot. Here comes Mizuno, charging once again, looking for that 4th spot. A lot of passing going on right now. Carter leads though, and has that clean air, that real estate that is so valuable and important. Side by side, Mizuno couldn't complete the pass out of 3, and we'll have to slot back in line here. Remember, Maria Damata came back in for extra service, has fresher tires than the rest of the field. So she will search her way forward and slowly just pick off these cars one by one before they come down pit lane in what we believe will be about 15 to 20 laps time. So Carter leads over Zappa and Megalos as the field continues to make their way forward. So Koivu trying to stay ahead of Maria Damata. Damata on the inside lane, going to have the tire advantage to make that happen. There's also Luisa Flores, who will try to use the 8 as a pick to get around the championship leader. And Koivu, so caught off guard, may actually almost let that happen. Down the back straightaway, they stay side by side. This is a battle for the 8th spot. And this is where Flores will have that definitely swing to her advantage. So will Sonia Walker, who moves up a spot as well. Walker was in the 10th spot, now in 9th. Koivu drops all the way out of the top 10. Those Firestone tires, I have to believe, are ailing at this point, now that she's fallen behind the 09 of Sora Hoshino. There is Katerina Malinkovic sitting in 12th, Mia Vitsu 13th, Kira Moore in the 14th position. And then you have Asada Quito 15th. Last one really in this group. Natalia Kurachenko is a little bit further back, but put together, all things be told, Del Blanco on an island. Both Crystal Cove racing cars on the lead lap and running. Next car to go, another lap down, is going to be Rex Riley, the pole sitter, who had a penalty for unsafe pit entry. 10 cars got penalized for it. All 10 of them went off the lead lap. Ishii out with a suspension failure. The only non-incident retirement of this race so far. 6 cars out in this race. Roberto Crown Jr., Karina Amara, Arashi Seto, Karina Sakurauchi, Amity Polstrix, and Jace Clark. As Jake Carter comes to complete lap number 74 here in the Toyota Dealers 300. He's got a little bit of distance as well to Megalos in second, Chavez in third, and Mizuno in fourth. As things continue to run, fifth place is where you'll find Felicia Zappa once again. Trying to hunt down Jake Carter. Carter's led. Now this will be lap 17 for him. Megalos has led 30. Felicia Zappa's led 7 laps in this race. And you're starting to see the tire advantage there for Maria Namada. That 8 car, that Iparanga. Black Rose Racing Ford sort of being a thorn in the side as she tries to get one of those laps back. One of those 4 laps back, I should say. What a difference a couple years makes here in Kentucky Speedway. Last time we were here was 2021 in the World Series. This track normally provided a bit of a pack race environment for the field. Definitely not the case now. Obviously, Horizon Corporation working hard to make the racing a little bit safer, but also keep the competitive edge alive. And we're seeing that pretty well in full force. As Venalainen goes another lap down, this is now a 5th lap down for Rika Venalainen. You're seeing the battling there for second place. Maria Chavez now in that second spot ahead of Felicia Zappa. Everyone trying to make some magic happen. You see Maria Chavez just kind of in the mix at the moment. As Rex Riley tries to stay just 1 lap down with pit stops looming in the distance in the not so distant future. Tire advantage now playing its part big time for those that had come down pit lane again. Again, Maria Damata not a factor for the race lead. Even extra pit stops will not be a factor. Just due to how many laps she's lost in this race so far. 4 laps down. At most, she would get 2 laps back. It's about trying to get lucky. Everyone just sort of trying to soar and sail through. That is a car really ailing. That is Koivanemi ailing. Huge issue for the 61 of Koivanemi. That was not scheduled for pit stop service. That was Koivanemi feeling something let go. Oh, maybe it is service. Because here comes more cars. That is Hoshino, and I believe that is Milinkovic. So maybe pit stops have begun. That's 3 cars altogether. Very interesting. We'll see how this plays out. This is in the window that we were expecting, about lap 85, lap 90. It's a couple laps early, but it's not going to hurt them to come in a little bit earlier, especially with Koivanemi, who had burned off those tires early in the run, to come in early. It's just really odd to slow down entering the back straightaway to make that pit stop. Not normal that you see something like that, but Koivanemi out and back running on the pit lane, headed towards pit exit now. Nothing indicating an abnormal stop there for the 61. And so they're going to give it another shot. See the long pit stop there, very long pit lane. And now you got to be safe on your pit exits here. More cars coming down pit lane. That is Fang and Blanco all coming down pit lane, as well as Isabel Espinoza. And here come even more cars, including your race leader, Jake Carter, came down pit lane. Megalos stayed out an extra lap. The pit stops are underway, and we were right on the money. Lap 85 is when that window opened for the entire field. Lap 85 to lap 90, we were almost picture perfect there. And here comes Megalos, and this is a traditional pit entry for them. Sonia Walker comes down pit lane. Trouble for Vitsu, who missed the commitment line. Oh dear. Vitsu was on the outside, was getting passed, I believe, by Milenkovic, and had to try to come down pit lane. So that's going to be a penalty for the 35 of Vitsu. It's not going to be on Milenkovic, who didn't do anything wrong there. That is Vitsu simply not getting to the yellow line and staying there. As the field comes out of pit lane, we'll see where everyone stacks up here. That is the 55 of Jake Carter, trying to get up to speed. That is Maria Chavez. Takarasi came down pit lane after leading a couple laps there. So we'll see how everyone stands. I believe that is Asada Quito. It is Asada Quito, the lone Verizon Team Impulse car remaining in this race. See the grass cloud, that dust cloud in the front straightaway for more Vitsu, Mr. Box, Mr. Pit Entry. You can see there's Vitsu finally leaving pit lane after having an extremely long pit stop to serve that penalty here under green, and that really kind of just throws Vitsu's race completely out the window. About for second, heating up here between Valerie Fang, Maria Chavez, Anastasia Megalos, Jake Carter in the clear at the moment as things stand. Trina Ochoa, who's running out in front right now at the moment. Some more cars just ahead of your race leader, Jake Carter, who leads the way now, I believe, officially. Let's double check here on the timing screen. I would have to assume, with Takarasi coming down pit lane that last time, it is now Jake Carter up front, with work to do for Chavez, for Fang, and for Megalos. Trying to make some headway here. Sonia Walker as well, the 5th place car now for Sonia Walker, who did not have a good qualifying effort here at all. Walker has struggled when it comes to adapting to the Civil War machinery. The 2021 NAMRA Cup Series champion, finally having a bit of a breakout race at a track she is oh so familiar with. Fang gets past 2 for 1 by Megalos and by Chavez. But here comes Walker, and here comes Felicia Zappa as well. Then you have a little bit of a distancing before you get to Floros, Mizuno. There's Takarasi, who stayed out extra long, led 5 laps out of the deal. There's Asada Quito, there's Kira Moore. And you see how far back the 61 did fall. Koivanemi with that slow pit entry after having an issue, what we believe was a tire a failure of some kind. It seemed to be the tire delamination for the 61 car. As we entered that pit window, Koivanemi getting once again around Milenkovic, who is a lap down. There's Mia Vitsut, who is also a lap down. So the 30 and the 35 will be battling each other for position here, with the national championship leader in the middle. Koivanemi in 12th, Blanco in the 13th spot is the last car on the lead lap. More cars have gone a lap down there, obviously, with Milenkovic, with Hoshino, and with Vitsut all going a lap down, and they're all right there. So we sort of just cut our way back to the race leader. This is Jake Carter on an island surrounded by lap traffic. That's Espinosa in front. That is Lantra and Riley behind. Then you have Seth Smith Jr. also behind. But these are lap cars that will not make the 55's life easy. Carter looking for his second win, trying to become the first driver in 2024 to win a second race in the Challenger Series season. A task that has proved to be extremely difficult at this stanza. We've had a singular caution on lap 11, a 6-car accident. It has been green since. We have one more pit stop in this race pretty easily. If you want to do the math on this, we were expecting about lap 75 until that caution came out on lap 11, which pushed it back to about lap 85. Car coming in, that is Maria D'Amata. So no concern there for the 8. That was on par for D'Amata. So realistically, looking at about lap 160 for that last pit stop. So comfortable second pit stop incoming in the second half of this race. We're coming to start lap 100. So the halfway lap underway now for your race leader, who's been passed by Lantra and by Rex Rally, but stays a distance ahead of those battling for second place. You saw that a little bit further back in the order. This is Sonia Walker. There is Felicia Zappa, Walker, Feng, Megalos, and Chavez all in the mix. They all got around Rika Venalainen, who is now 7 laps adrift. Zappa going to try to close in what has become a 2-second gap to the race leader, Jake Carter, as they all try to work together at this point. The 50 here as the gap tries to close down a little bit. Carter's gotten back around this group with Kurachenko now in front of him. Trying to see if I can measure this gap as it comes down here. Carter's now led 40 laps in this race. Most laps led of anybody so far. That gap has come down 3/10. These are all cars that are going to try to challenge and fight with the 55 as this race goes along. Outside lane now working out for Rex Riley, who will drop in behind Seth Smith Jr. Seth Smith's teammate Felicia Zappa coming up in close to the same group. 3/10 are shaved off that time. Closing the gap down more and more. Now down to 1.5 seconds is where we're at. From 2.2 to 1.7, sorry, 1.8, excuse me, to 1.5. Lap times chipping away. Best car last lap has really not been either the top 3. It's all been kind of Maria Chavez who's been setting the breakneck pace lap time wise. And you're seeing, whoa, exactly how much trouble you can be on the outside lane. Isabel Espinosa cutting it close with the race leader and with those around her on the lap down catalog. Outside lane once again prevails in turns 1 and 2. But now everyone's firmly in the same show. They're in the same zip code of less than a second now. So a lot more manageable for those that were trying to reel in the race leader. They have done that. Now they just got to deal with the lap traffic that he's also been dealing with for most of this run. Zappa defends using the outside lane in turns 1 and 2. As Chavez was under threat there by... Fang was under threat by Chavez there. Fang staying a hold of that 4th spot. As Carter tries to make way and make headroom here. Dirty Air equalizing things out. Thanks to Kurachenko in the contest. So Riley on the inside lane. There's Isabel Espinosa on the inside lane as well. Jake Carter. Similar looking race cars there between Carter and Espinosa, and now they're side by side. Carter's got the white car numbers. Espinosa, if you zoom in and look a little bit closer, has the red car numbers. And Riley shuffles back once again, stuck on the outside lane thanks to Espinosa, as they all duke it out. Below the white line, below the yellow line really at this point. Just not going to be as effective there. Espinosa knows that, but also can't really get completely clear of the 55 either. Does now, there you go. And here comes the 50 of Zappa. Shot right to the inside of both Lantra and Riley to get around both of them. And this could be Maria Chavez in trouble, and is in trouble. Not a great place to be for Maria Chavez, having to give up all those positions on that inside lane. Top 2, nose to tail. Zappa has gotten her back to the gearbox of Jake Carter, as has Valerie Fang, who is in the mix. Whoa, Carter! Carter got really slow, got really tight, had to get back out of it, and will just like that lose the race lead to Zappa and lose second to Valerie Fang. Thankfully stopped the position damage. Wasn't going to lose to anything to Isabel Lantra there, but trouble for the 55 has now put Felicia Zappa in the catbird seat, with the field sort of thinned out a little bit at the front now. That is Megalos and Walker and Chavez trying to find ways around to make things happen. Trying to gain up, and Walker really got tight there in 3 and 4. And moved right up the racetrack in front of Chavez. And you're seeing now in clean air, they got around Kurachenko. That is Felicia Zappa and Valerie Fang and Jake Carter. They all got around. 1, 2, and 3. This could be their chance to hightail it and make it just them. Fang has yet to lead a lap in this race. Zappa's now led her 10th lap in this race. Jake Carter's got 50 under his belt right now. Currently controls the most laps led bonus points, which for the 55 cramp is very desperately needed. As the field roars around, it is Zappa that leads the way, approaching Rika Venelainen, the driver that has knocked her from the lead one too many times. It does it again. Fang took a chance, knowing this was an opportunity to get a lap led out of it, and that's exactly what just happened. Valerie Fang, now a lap leader in Kentucky. And Kurachenko tried to be a hassle for the race leaders, couldn't make it stick there in one after trying to force a 3 wide. So Feng now leads over Zappa. Carter looks to the inside. Out of turn 4. And Zappa used the outside lane to perfection there to stay in the second spot. Now trying to claw back in on the Phoenix Motorsports driver. Feng has been largely, completely outgunned by her rookie teammate, Isabel Lantra, up to this point. A pit entry mistake, a gaffe for Lantra and 9 others have put them behind the 8 ball in a significant way. And it now is Valerie Feng's time to shine in the Bluegrass State. Still a long way to go, coming to 79 laps to go here in Kentucky. Take a second and watch the field just roll by. It's absolutely magnificent watching the field just roll through. As the field rolls through and rolls back around, once again sits in the hands of Valerie Feng. And you see the issues the rest of the field have had. They have been completely isolated away from the top 3. Bar Aspasia Megalos, who at least has some semblance of connection to the front of the field. Everyone else firmly separated. This Floros, that's Walker. You have Kira Moore in this mix as well. Nera Takarasi in the mix. Sasana Quito. Maria Chavez. There's Yumina Mizuno, who's been quiet this entire second stanza. There's Rich Koivanemi, who's on an island as well. After that tire puncture. Did her well behind the 8 ball there. Del Blanco, last car on lead lap. As his teammate tries to claw back for the race lead, has been dealing with lap traffic, deals with Natalia Kurachenko once more. Both Valerie Feng and Felicia Zappa have yet to win a race this season. And right now, the power is in their hands to see if they can keep this fight ongoing. And that is a very critical question to ask at this point. Seems like Carter's beginning to really struggle just a little bit with those tires. Here comes Felicia Zappa, takes speed to the inside, doesn't really have much to contest with Valerie Feng immediately taking that outside lane and just running with it. In fact, I'm not really sure why Zappa made that feigning move, putting herself under threat from Kurachenko. Kurachenko couldn't really do anything about it either, because we are reaching that point with the tires where momentum has become critical. It's still very interesting to me to see that Zappa would even make an attempt at something like that at this point. So Valerie Feng, former Cat Devil racing driver, never had a chance to race here at Kentucky Speedway. It was on the schedule in 2022 when Feng was a rookie. Wasn't on the calendar last year. Now able to race Kentucky for the first time, and has now led 11 laps in this race, same as Zappa. Zappa, this is where you want to try to make things happen. Turns 1 and 2, not the play on the inside lane. It's 3 and 4 where the inside lane is so effective. And it throws Feng backwards by a spot. Zappa now once again leads the way. Can Feng get back around Kurachenko? Or is Kurachenko going to be an ultimate thorn in the side? Answer is that Kurachenko is going to be a thorn in the side. So will Isabel launch with teammates there side by side, not on the same page. Feng will stay ahead of the 55 of Carter. But that's about it. 4 lead lap cars in this group. 8 cars total, so 4 on lead lap, 4 not on lead lap. Last car on lead lap in this group is the 66 of Megalos. 2 race winners, 2 non-race winners in this group, and it's the non-race winner sitting right now first and second. As we sit about 30 laps removed from the last pit stop window in this race. Elantra battling with Kurachenko. Not a battle for position either. Elantra 2 laps down, Kurachenko 3 laps down. Is how things currently sit. Feng got dispatched by Carter, so Carter now in second. Rex Riley got shuffled all the way out of the way by the lead lap cars there, by Feng and by Megalos. Zappa continues to lead. Down the back straightaway. In at 3 and 4. Less than 70 laps to go, coming to 65 to go when they cross the line this time. Pit window theoretically is open this time for anyone that wants to kind of come down and take that. However, you'd imagine everyone that would want to have fresh tires to get to the end of the race is going to wait as long as possible to do that. So we're expecting about 25 more laps before that pit window begins in earnest. Sienna. Yeah, Felicia Zappa sitting right now at the front of the field with lap cars separating herself from the driver with the most laps led in this race, Jake Carter. Carter led 50 laps, has not led in a while though. He got caught up in the madness of the lap traffic, got dispatched, and they have not looked back. That's been almost 30 laps ago now since Carter was in the lead. Had an amazing pit stop, but it seems to have been squandered a little bit since he couldn't get away from any of the traffic that was going on. Remember, the cars that he's dealing with are cars that had penalties. They were not back there because they're slow. They have penalties from that unsafe pit entry. These are all cars that had race leading pace that just have not been able to show it. And won't have anything to show for it other than not being involved in the lap 11 caution. Easy move to the inside lane for Felicia Zappa. Clears Rika Venalainen with ease. Meanwhile, keep an eye on the 66. Dispatched Valerie Feng, now on the gearbox of Carter. As they both look to get around the 87 of Venalainen. And they both do. Megalos and Carter will both be a factor in this, as will Felicia Zappa once again, like she was in Phoenix. Cars on the lead lap. 60 laps to go. Basically, we're looking at another half-hour racing here. If you look at the times, you look at the pit stop window as well. Very rapid race here in Kentucky Speedway. Just watching from the perspective, just being in the booth up here above the start-finish line, you can just tell the speeds have dropped a little bit here. Down to about 211 mile an hour, the average lap speed, 5 miles an hour slower. Actually, really looking at the fast lap, Jake Carter said at 24.8. That's a 217.2 mile an hour lap in this race. So Carter's got the fastest lap at the moment. So compared to that, you're about 6 miles an hour slower. Tires have definitely outspent themselves at this point. Zappa leads a lap car between herself and the other two leaders sitting together. That's Carter and Megalos. Valerie Fang a little bit further behind in this line as things settle down as we approach that second round of pit stops here. And again, about 15 laps for that final pit window. Zappa looking for a race win. It's been a tough couple of years, especially last year. First year in Champ Car, didn't go on. School of hard knocks there. And then coming down to the Challenger Series, 2-car effort for Swiss Autosport. It's been a lot brighter on this side of things for the Swiss Autosport camp. Jake Carter, a race winner, could have easily been a 3-time race winner. Bad strategy calls, bad fortune, all played a factor in Carter losing a couple of these races. Only has one to his credit, and that would have been Fontana, as Isabel Lantra opens the door in this battle for the race lead. So going to let Carter get close, but again, outside lane, not the preferred lane in 1 and 2. Sorry, outside lane is preferred in 1 and 2, not inside lane where Carter was. And he'll have to settle in once again. Here comes the 66 of Megalos to the inside, turns 3 and 4. Carter keeps the door just barely closed, and the reason why is because Felicia Zappa struggled to keep the car below the middle lane. So Carter gets back to the race lead here, but Felicia Zappa, those tires have definitely gone away here in the last few laps. You saw a couple cars come in early. Seeing who that is, I believe that is the 30 of Milinkovic. It is. But this is, again, good enough to get to the end of the race. You're kind of staring at just over 50 laps to go. Milinkovic on the back foot, already 2 laps down at this point. Nothing really to lose by coming in a little bit early. Just kind of get your stuff taken care of and be done with it. That's a strategy call for Milinkovic's camp. Carter back out in front, ahead of Zappa, ahead of Megalos here. Megalos with 31 laps led. Felicia Zappa 29. Carter 52 laps led. Make that 53 now for Carter. As Zappa gets right to that gearbox. Whatever it was, she dialed in those in-car adjustments and looks to the inside lane to take the race lead right back. And does so. Here comes Megalos as well in the draft of Zappa. And gets clear too. And trouble there for Megalos, really tight on the inside lane. It's a little bit too much of that yellow line, but has the ability to make it back up here. And Carter will not be able to get back around. In fact, here comes Valerie Fang shooting the gap as well. So Carter from the lead to second to third to fourth. And it will not be a contest as both Fang and Isabel Espinosa clear the 55 of Carter. And now we're back to the top 2. Being the separation between Zappa and Megalos. First and third without a race win. Second and fourth have a race win. With less than 50 laps to go. Call it 57 laps to go. Sorry, 47 laps to go. 47 to go here in Kentucky for the Toyota Dealers 300. It's been non-stop action here on ABN. We get more of it tomorrow with the Quaker State 300 for the Champ Car World Series. Right now, Felicia Zappa trying to follow her sister's footsteps. and become a Champ Car Race winner. Kaylee Zappa, a 3-time Champ Car World Series race winner. Racing for Cat Devil Racing at that point. And now, younger sister Felicia trying to bring the Italian anthem back to victory lane. As pit stops loom in the distance, the top 4 separating Jake Carter, beginning to fall backwards more and more. He's been dispatched by the top 3, and he's not really been able to make any sort of response to them. He's dropped over a second behind the race leader, Felicia Zappa. And here they come, down, and they all come together. Really important there. They all came down together. I believe that makes Kira Moore the race leader. It does. So Kira Moore gets a lap led out of this. Sonia Walker now in second place. Then it's Nara Takarasi and Asada Kito top 4. But they're going to come up pit lane pretty quickly, I would have to assume, and they do. Takarasi stayed out longer. She'll stay out longer again here. Pit window is open just before lap 160. It's almost as if we actually studied for this one. Takarasi sitting right now in that race leading position where she'll stay for a few laps. She led 4 laps on that initial run on that overcut strategy and will not stay too long extra here. Comes down pit lane after just leading 1 extra lap. Here comes Koivanemi, one of the first ones down pit lane to begin this sequence of pit stops. Koivanemi needed the undercut to try to work. Fast tires, full speed, back underway for the 61, who fell down pretty significantly in the running order. Koivanemi is going to get around Seth Smith Jr. without a problem. Smith coming out of pit lane. Some more cars come out of pit lane. Where does everyone cycle out here? That is Carter cycling out well far back here. This is with Walker, Mizuno, and Maria Chavez. Another slow stop by Jake Carter has thrown him well out of the conversation for the race win. It is now in the hands of these 3 on your screen: Aspasia Megalos, Felicia Zappa, and Valerie Fang. They are going to be your race leaders here. Car coming up pit lane, that is Rika Venalainen. As more cars come down pit lane, prolonged pit sequence. Money stops, and it was not very cash money for Jake Carter, who has not only lap traffic between him and the rest of the field, but he's also got lead lap cars to deal with. That's Mizuno, Walker, and Maria Chavez. Car exiting pit lane, that is Milenkovic. Sort of browsing through. There's Asada Kito, Luisa Floros, Takarasi, Moore. There's Mia Vitsut, who is a lap down. The first car a lap down to 14th, ahead of the championship leader, Rachel Koivanemi. Koivanemi not under immediate threat to lose that championship lead, though this will take a hit with how things are sitting right now. The best benefit out of this right now is that you're looking at drivers 1, 2, and 3 right now that are not top 4 in the standings. So it's going to be a big day for them especially. Yeah, to sit there, I'm kind of thinking Megalos is definitely in the top 4. Megalos is second, so this could be a swing in favor of the Greek driver taking over the championship lead as things currently run. Koivanemi is sitting in 12th at the moment, so needing a little bit of help to avoid losing the championship lead here in Kentucky. And help could be in the form of either gaining spots and getting into the top 10, or Megalos losing the race lead and losing second. Finishing third would be preferable if you're in Koivaniemi's camp. Megalos, though, would really love the championship lead to be in hand, leaving the state of Kentucky. It's about 30 laps to go here. We have a couple weeks off here in the Challenger Series. After this week, we get to go to Nazareth Speedway July 6th. The Champ Car World Series gets to keep going. They've got a couple races between now and the Chevrolet 500 at Michigan on July 6th weekend. So we get to go to, I believe we get to go to Denver next weekend. So we get to go to the Mile High City for the Denver Motorsports Park, a fantastic combination oval road course facility for the World Series after their race tomorrow here in Kentucky. Next races in Nazareth, then we have Gateway, we have Mexico City, we have Las Vegas, we have Colorado Motor Speedway, small little short oval just south of Denver. Iowa Speedway holds a doubleheader. Kansas, Chicagoland, and Atlanta end out the season for the Challenger Series. Thick and fast is how the series is going to be from here on out. Megalos leads the way, looking to take over the national championship lead here in the Toyota Dealers 300. Toyota out front, leading a Chevrolet and another Toyota. It is Chevrolet and Toyota all the way through here. 2 Chevrolets, 2 Toyotas in the top 5. Then then you have the first 4 to the race in 5th with Maria Chavez, and then Sonia Walker, another 4 there in 6th. So outside of not a lot of Honda representation there yet. Actually, no, Yumina Mizuno, Honda there in 7th. So yeah, you got all 4 manufacturers there sitting pretty close together. These 3 all battling for positions. There's Carter trying to stay ahead of Chavez and Mizuno and Sonia Walker there. Walker well up the racetrack there in 2. That is the no man's groove to make things happen. A lot of working being done here at the moment. Megalos knows that holding on to the race lead and getting a second race win would be pretty monumental. Finishing second with Koivaniemi sitting right now in the 12th spot would still be enough to flip the table and put herself and Face Poria top of the board in the Drivers' Championship standings. But we also know how hungry Felicia Zappa has been, being in a good result famine. Is the Italian driver. Lap traffic in the way. Milenkovic and Hoshino will be factors here. Door opens, not only for Zappa, but for Valerie Fang back in the mix. Coming to 25 laps to go. Here comes the 50 is Zappa to the inside of the 66, and here comes Valerie Fang as well. The 54 also opens the door. And Megalos from 1st to 3rd. But Zappa doing the exact same mistake here. Fortunately, stays to the inside of Milenkovic. does not allow Valerie Fang to sweep under. Fang instead just shadows. And they know if they can dispatch the 66, it's between them two in the final 24 laps of this race. Zappa outside lane defends the race lead from Valerie Fang pretty well. And there was enough of a gap there where Megalos didn't have enough to make any significant headway to make a pass into 3 and 4. That's what she tried to do anyway, but realized quickly there was no momentum to it. Once again, side by side, Fang led that lap and gets clear. That was a pass out of nowhere for Fang to get to the front of the field. And here comes Zappa once again to the inside lane. They're going to trade this lead back and forth repeatedly. And here comes the 66 once again of Megalos, keeping your hand in the fight. Carter, the driver with the most laps led of this race, almost undisputed. I say that with a bit of a hesitant tone because Megalos has led 48 laps in this race. Still plenty of time for Megalos to take those points away from Jake Carter. There's extra 2 bonus points for leading the most laps in a race. Zappa defending that outside lane like her life depended on it there from Megalos. Led that lap as well. And Megalos on the inside lane, not going to have a lot of standing room, so to speak, for Zappa. Zappa on the outside lane defended well. Here comes the 54 of Fang. Megalos gave her the room. Fang just couldn't get to it. Couldn't capitalize. 20 to go. Alicia Zappa also in range to potentially, if she could lead a lion's share of the last 20 laps here, to also take those bonus points for most laps led. So a couple of hands still in the fight. As you can imagine, when you have a race like this, Megalos being passed not only by Fang, but by the 30 of Milenkovic, which is not helpful right now. So Alicia Zappa now at 40 laps led in this contest. Fang at 13, the only one really out of the running of taking the most laps led here. Best she can hope for at this point would be 32. And that continues to shrink the more that Felicia Zappa leads. Both the cars at the front of the field here have not won a race in Champ Car competition before. And they are 1-2 at the moment. And I feel they have a pretty interesting finish, similar to what we had in Fontana. As Megalos now gets thoroughly separated from this group. She tried what she could, but lap traffic will be the ultimate equalizer in this competition. She gets clear, but now it's a long surge she's got to make here in coming to 16 laps, excuse me. 16 to go at the line. As Zappa holds on ahead of Fang. As Megalos in third. And we'll browse a little bit further back in the order here. This is where Jake Carter's at, so they have closed in a little bit, but nowhere near enough. 3 seconds the gap. But Carter sits in fourth ahead of Maria Chavez. Yimena Mizuno sitting right now in that 6th spot. Sonia Walker in 7th. 8th place, you have to look over further back. That's where you'll find Luisa Floros, Nera Takarasi, and Kira Moore, who sits in the top 10 right now. Asada Quito, the first one out of the top 10 in 11th. And then you have Rachel Kovanami in 12th, having been largely stuck dealing with the likes of Mia Vitsu for most of this race. You have a group of cars a lap down here. You got Vitsu, who we talked about being the first car a lap down. This is Seth Smith Jr., who is 3 laps down. Keisha Fox is 1 lap down. So is Katrina Ochoa. So both the 27 and the 62 on your screen, battling for track position, battling for what would be ultimately 15th place. Ochoa just took 15th away. And Dale Blanco, last car on the lead lap in that 56 car. 19.9 seconds adrift, because there's the race leaders right now. They can see that group that we were just looking at. They can see them down the back straightaway. Top 3 once again close together. is where tires began to be a factor before. Megalos has had a very up and down time. So has Felicia Zappa. But Valerie Fang has inarguably been the weaker link of the three so far in this race. The lap totals kind of show it. Zappa doing everything she can to try to hold on to this race. She was denied her first win in the desert of Arizona at Phoenix to Riikka Venäläinen. Coming to 11 laps to go. Smith Autosport's been without a race win for so long. So much has changed with Swiss Autosport over the last few years. And now they work for it. To go. It's how we sit here for the Toyota Dealers 300 here on ABN. It's the Firestone Champ Car Challenger Series. Megalos gets around Fang, charging forward. She's gotten up to second place here as the laps continue to tick away. 8 laps to go here in Kentucky for the Firestone Champ Car Challenger Series. And boy, oh boy, do they have work to do. Very spicy. 7 to go. A singular caution, the only interruption to this race. It has been non-stop since. 185 green flag laps if it stays green to the finish here. And that's what these three want to see. They want to see it stay green. They want to be able to battle it out. The crowd here in Sparta, Kentucky has been absolutely magnificent all weekend long, and they've been given a treat of a race here in the Challenger Series. Megalos, with 5 laps to go, is looking at a race win, a second race win. Holding on right now to provisionally the championship lead. Looks to the inside, trying to get around Felicia Zappa. Zappa gave her real estate. Didn't block off that gap completely. But Megalos couldn't find the grip to really shoot that gap, and now has to try to reset once again through 1 and 2 to try to make a run happen in the 3 and 4. The 3 and 4 is where the pass has got to happen if you're going to make it. We're coming to 3 laps to go. 4.5 miles at the start-finish line between the top 3 with lap traffic in the way. Riikka Venäläinen will slow up all 3 of the race leaders here. Door is open now for Megalos to make a pass happen. Zappa goes to the inside, makes that move first. Megalos stays right on the gearbox. Fang held up a little bit, 2 laps to go. Could be completely out of the running now for the race win. Megalos looks strong there in 1 and 2 that time. Is this going to be a last lap pass? Down the back straightaway and through 3 and 4. The white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go, presented by PNC Bank. And it is Felicia Zappa, 1.5 miles away from a moment that she's dreamed of. A moment the team has needed for so long. the 3 and 4 for the final time. Megalos not close enough. For the first time, Felicia Zappa is a Champ Car race winner. She wins in Kentucky. And Swift Autosport returns to victory lane. Megalos takes over the championship lead in second. Valerie Fang returns to the podium with a third. And it's most laps led for Felicia Zappa as well. So as close as you can get to maximum points as possible. Felicia Zappa, a race winner. For the first time, taking the Toyota Dealers 300 here in Kentucky Speedway. And Swift Autosport once again can celebrate. They've got a race winner. Absolutely outstanding all race long. What a race we had. We'll go over the full results here. Felicia Zappa, the race winner, with 60 laps led overall over Espacia Megalos and Valerie Fang. Sonia Walker and Maria Chavez, they end up rounding out your top five. Jake Carter in sixth, got around Yumina Mizuno to minimize the damage there. Mizuno in the 7th spot. Then Luisa Flores, Kira Moore, and Nara Takarasi in 10th. Asada Quito and Dale Blanco, your top 12. Reason why that is a big thing to note, Rachel Koivanemi, another tire issue on the 61 car at the end of the race, dropping Koivanemi down to 16th, a lap down behind Mia Vitsut, Katrina Ochoa, and Keisha Fox. Sora Hoshino in 17th behind Koivanemi, then Rex Riley. Isabel Lantra and Katerina Malenkovic rounding out your top 20. Isabel Espinoza 21st. Natalia Kurachenko in 27th ahead of Seth Smith Jr., Maria Damata, and Rika Venäläinen, your last finisher in 25th. Your retirements, they were as they were after lap 12. Yui Ishii with a suspension failure. Then those retiring from this race due to accident damage on lap 11, Roberto Crown Jr., Karina Amara, Arashi Seto, Karina Sakurauchi, Amity Pulsatrix, and Jace Clark. Rounds out your 32-car field. It's a couple weeks off before we head to Nazareth Raceway for the Amazon US 225 on July 6th. Tomorrow, right here on ABN, we have the Champ Car World Series right here in Kentucky once again for the Quaker State 300 at 1 p.m. here on your ABN local stations. A wild race here in Kentucky. We're due for more of the same tomorrow. Come back again in about 14 hours' time. And we get to celebrate once again under the daytime here at Kentucky Speedway. On behalf of everyone here for ABN, for the Champ Car Challenger Series, for NAMRA, for Horizon Corporation, and for the FICA, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow right here in the Bluegrass State. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on track again very soon.